Hi and welcome back to Reddit Whispers. I suppose the beginning is the only place to start, though it feels like starting a story that's already ended, picking through the rubble of a city that was, just a week ago, my entire world. My name isn't important, but my age is, I think. I'm 29. I'm 29, and for the last 6 years I've been with her. Not just with her, but intertwined, woven into the very fabric of her existence as she was woven into mine. We weren't just a couple. We were a single entity moving through life, or so I thought. Fiancé. That's a word that feels like ash in my mouth now. It used to be a promise, a beautiful, solid thing I could hold in my mind. It meant a future, it meant a house with a small garden, it meant us. We were actively trying to buy that house. We spent weekends driving through suburbs, pointing at white picket fences and arguing playfully about whether a bay window was a necessity or an indulgence. We had spreadsheets, for God's sake. Spreadsheets with mortgage calculations and down payment savings plans. It was real. We were planning a child together, a little person who would have her eyes and my stubborn chin. We talked about names, about schools, about what kind of parents we would be. It wasn't a distant dream. It was the next logical step, the next chapter we were writing together, a chapter slated to begin next year. For the last 6 years, we've lived together. Her apartment technically, but it became ours so seamlessly I forgot it ever belonged to just one of us. My books filled her shelves, my clothes colonized half the closet, my mismatched coffee mug sat next to her perfect matching set. It was our home, the sanctuary where we built our life. We were fusional. That's the only word for it. It's a word that sounds beautiful until it's ripped apart, and then you realize it just means there's no clean break, only a mangled tear. We were one person's thoughts in two bodies. I knew what she was going to say before she said it. I could feel her mood shift from across the room. She was my gravity, the center of my universe. She always told me I was the love of her life. It wasn't just a casual phrase. She'd say it with this intensity, this fierce sincerity in her eyes that could make you believe in anything. She'd say it in the morning with sleep in her voice. She'd whisper it in the dark. She'd text it to me in the middle of a busy workday. And I believed her. I believed her with every cell in my body, with a faith so absolute it was a part of my own biology, because she was the love of my life too. It wasn't a choice. It was a fact as certain as the sun rising. I work hard. I've always been driven. I clock about 55 hours a week, sometimes more. It's a demanding job, but I did it for us, for the house, for the future, for the life I wanted to give her. And she worked hard too. I never want to take that away from her. Her job was a chaotic mess of staggered schedules, weekends that weren't weekends and nights that bled into mornings. It was tough on her, and because it was tough on her, it was tough on me. I saw her struggling, exhausted, and my immediate instinct was to help, to lighten her load. So I did. I'd regularly help her, putting in a dozen hours a week on top of my own job. It wasn't a chore, it was a strategy. A way for me to spend more time with her, to be a part of her world, to show her that we were a team, that her burdens were my burdens. At home, the balance was skewed. I see that now. I didn't see it as a problem then. I just did what needed to be done. I did the majority of the housework. The cooking, the cleaning, the laundry, the grocery shopping. I found a strange sort of satisfaction in it, in creating a clean, calm space for us to exist in. I enjoyed cooking for her, watching her face light up when I made her favorite dish. It was another language of love for me. And the love, my God, the love I gave her was boundless. I showered her with it, a constant, unrelenting torrent of affection and attention. She was my prized possession, a delicate, beautiful thing that I had to protect and cherish. I know that sounds possessive, maybe even unhealthy, but it came from a place of pure adoration. I wanted to wrap her in bubble wrap and keep her safe from the world. My attention for her was absolute. Money has never really been a problem for me. I've been fortunate, I've worked hard, and I've been smart with it. And every spare penny, every thought was directed at her happiness. I wanted her to be the most happy woman of all time. It was my mission, my purpose. Spontaneous trips, thoughtful gifts, paying for anything and everything so she wouldn't have to worry. I just wanted her to feel cherished, and she seemed to be. She always said to me that she didn't deserve me. She'd say it with a shake of her head, a soft smile on her lips. "You're too good to me. You're the best boyfriend anyone could ever want." She detailed me how happy she was, how grateful she was for the life we had, for the love I gave her. And I would just smile, my heart swelling with pride because that was all I ever wanted. I just wanted to be her everything. My biggest dream has always been to have a family. It's a primal need in me, a desire for a legacy of love, for the chaos and warmth of a home filled with children. We were so close. We were going to start trying next year. We'd even started a list of names on the Notes app on my phone. Then, a week ago, the universe decided to fast forward our plans, or so I thought. We discovered she was pregnant. The two blue lines on that plastic stick felt like a lightning bolt to my soul. I wasn't scared, I was ecstatic. A wave of pure, unadulterated joy washed over me, so powerful it brought tears to my eyes. I was going to be a father. Our future, the one we had so carefully planned, was suddenly, miraculously here. I was so happy. We spent the next 2 days in a blissful bubble. We were giddy, whispering about it like a delicious secret. We pulled up the Notes app and started seriously considering names. We debated Leo versus Oliver, Luna versus Isla. We laughed, we hugged, we dreamed. It was the most perfect 48 hours of my life, a snapshot of a future I would have died for. And then came the third day. The day the bubble didn't just burst, it was obliterated by a nuclear bomb. She sat me down on our sofa, the one we bought together after weeks of searching. She couldn't look me in the eye. And then she said the words that shattered my entire existence. She announced that the child, our child, the one we had just named, might not be mine. She had been cheating on me. Not a one-night mistake. A 6-month affair. 6 months of lies, of betrayal, of living a double life. And with who? Not some charming rival, not some whirlwind romance. With some trash guy who harassed her at her job. A guy I vaguely knew about, a guy she had complained about, a guy I had told her to report. A constant, unwelcome presence in her life that had somehow, incomprehensibly, become her lover. My world didn't just collapse, it ceased to exist. In that single moment, every memory, every "I love you," every shared dream of the last 6 years became tainted, twisted into a cruel mockery of what I thought was real. The ground beneath my feet disappeared, and I was in a free fall, plummeting into an abyss of pain and confusion so profound I couldn't even scream. The love of my life, the mother of my potential child, the woman I had built my entire world around, was a stranger. And our future was a lie. My first instinct, the primal gut reaction, was to run, to get out. I wanted to leave her, the apartment, the city, the entire life that was now a crime scene. I wanted to erase the last 6 years, but I couldn't. It was her apartment, too. We were trapped, trapped in the ruins of our life, forced to breathe the toxic air of her betrayal for a whole week. The days that followed were a surreal hellscape. We had to coexist in the small space that was once our sanctuary. Every corner held a memory, now a ghost that mocked me. The kitchen where I cooked for her, the bed where we slept, the sofa where she broke my world. We spoke a lot. Or rather, she spoke and I listened, trying to piece together the wreckage of my understanding. She told me the story with the other man was finished, that it had been over for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. As if that was supposed to be a comfort. For 2 weeks she had lived with this secret, letting me celebrate a pregnancy that could have been the final, devastating nail in my coffin. She swore it was over, that she had made a terrible mistake. She cried, she begged, she told me she loved me. And the most twisted part, I think she meant it, or a part of her did. The part that was still my fiancée, the woman I loved. The other part, the stranger who had done this, I didn't know her at all. The details she shared were like daggers, each one twisting deeper into the wound. She told me about her birthday. My God, her birthday. I remember it so clearly. I took 2 days off work, 2 precious vacation days, just to make it perfect for her. I wanted to shower her with love, to make her feel like the queen she was in my eyes. I spared no expense. I bought €200 worth of oysters, her absolute favorite indulgence. I spent 2 entire days, hours upon hours, painstakingly making homemade gyozas from scratch because she once said they were her favorite food in the world. I had booked a private boat promenade for the evening, a romantic trip along the river as the sun set. I was in the kitchen all day, a happy whirlwind of activity, cooking a huge dinner, setting the table, lighting candles, all in anticipation of the look on her face. And while I was doing all of this, while I was pouring every ounce of my love and effort into celebrating her, she was gone. She was gone for 3 hours. She told me she was meeting a friend for a quick coffee. A friend. She went to his home, the trash guy. On her birthday, the day I had dedicated entirely to her happiness, she left my celebration to go to his apartment to kiss him, to fuck him, to share her birthday with him. The thought of it makes me physically ill. The image of her with him while I was at home lovingly folding gyoza wrappers is burned into my brain, a permanent scar on my memory. She came back, of course. She came back and smiled and told me the friend was doing well. She marveled at the dinner, she gushed over the oysters, she told me I was the best, and I like a fool believed it all. The whole week, the week we were trapped together in the apartment after the confession, she was a broken record of love and regret. I love you, she'd say, her eyes filled with tears. I will love you forever. You are the love of my life. She promised she would wait for me, no matter how long it took. I'll wait for you all my life, she vowed. And hearing those words, the same words that had been the soundtrack to my life for 6 years, was pure torture, because my stupid, broken, artichoke heart wanted to believe them. A tiny, treacherous seed of hope began to sprout in the wasteland of my despair. Maybe, just maybe, this was a catastrophic mistake, a moment of madness from which we could eventually recover. I started to think in my desperate state that maybe I could come back to her. Not now, not soon, but in a few years. After a huge breakup, a period of separation for each of us to heal and figure ourselves out. The love was still there, a phantom limb I could still feel, aching and real. I began to imagine a future where I could forgive this, where we could rebuild from the ashes. It was a stupid, foolish hope, but it was the only thing keeping me from completely shattering into a million pieces. 5 days. It had been 5 days since the world ended. 5 days of living in a purgatory of whispered confessions and hollow promises. That day was the day of the abortion. A day already shrouded in a level of grief and complexity that I couldn't begin to process. The potential child, the symbol of our future, was being erased. Whether it was mine or not, it was a loss, an end to a dream I had held so dearly for a few precious days. I was steeling myself for a day of quiet sorrow, of supporting her through a difficult procedure, of trying to navigate the impossible emotional landscape we found ourselves in. But the universe had other plans. Early that morning, while the sky was still a bruised purple, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door to find her parents. Not for a supportive visit, not to offer condolences. They were there with boxes and a determined look in their eyes. They were there to move her out. I wasn't aware of this. She hadn't said a word. The shock was a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. Her parents, who had always treated me like a son, now looked at me with a mixture of pity and resolve. They started taking all the furniture, all her business, everything that marked her presence in our home, and began the process of relocating her to a new apartment. An apartment I knew nothing about. My home, our home, was suddenly being dismantled before my very eyes. The day descended into a surreal nightmare. I spent hours in a daze telling them what was my furniture and what was hers. That bookshelf is mine. Yes, that lamp is hers. The coffee table, we bought that together. Each sentence was a tiny death, a verbal dissection of our shared life. I was dealing with the sudden, brutal reality that she was leaving, not in a vague future, but right now. And at the same time, I was dealing with the abortion that was happening in our bedroom. She had taken the pill, and now we were just waiting. The physical and emotional trauma was unfolding in the next room while her family, strangers in my grief, packed up her life around me. I don't know how I did it, but I went into some kind of autopilot. I still helped everyone. I helped her father carry a heavy dresser down the stairs. I offered her mother a glass of water, and I took care of her. My fiancée, the woman who had shattered my heart. I was still comforting her. I would go into the bedroom, the room that was being emptied of her essence, and I would find her curled in a ball on the mattress on the floor. I would give her hugs, whispering soothing words I didn't feel. I held her and told her it would be okay, a lie so profound it felt like a blasphemy. I kept her hot water bag hot, running to the kitchen to refill it every 5 minutes, a desperate, mundane task to appease her pain, to appease my own sense of helplessness. My love for her, the deep, instinctual need to care for her, was still there, a ghost haunting my actions. At one point, I even went out to the corner store to buy some beer for her family. They were working hard, they were stressed. It was a bizarre act of hospitality in the midst of my own personal apocalypse. I was the host of my own heartbreak, serving drinks as my life was being packed into boxes. That evening, after her parents had left with the first load, the apartment was an echo chamber of missing things, of empty spaces that screamed her absence. We went for a walk, just the two of us. We walked through the city, the streets a blur of lights and noise. She took my hand. Her touch, which had always been my anchor, now felt strange, foreign, but I let her hold it. And as we walked, she promised me the stars. She promised me that this wasn't the end, that her love for me was real, that we would find our way back to each other. She painted a beautiful picture of a future where this was just a scar, a painful memory that we had overcome together. And my stupid, hopeful heart listened. It clung to her words like a drowning man to a piece of driftwood. For that 1 hour holding her hand, I allowed myself to believe. The following day, the hope was unceremoniously executed. The whiplash was violent. In the morning, she looked at me with cold eyes. The softness from the night before was gone, replaced by a hard, brittle edge. She told me I was an octopus, grabbing her leg, holding her back. She said I had to let her go away. The metaphor was so cruel, so dismissive. The man who had just spent the previous day holding her through an abortion while her family dismantled our home was now an octopus, a clingy monster. I was so confused. My mind couldn't keep up with these sudden, drastic shifts. Was she the woman who promised me the stars last night, or this cold stranger who saw me as a burden? A few hours later, the pendulum swung back again. She found me sitting on the floor in the living room, staring at the empty space where her armchair used to be. She sat down next to me, her voice soft again. She told me she still loved me. She told me she still thought I was the love of her life. But now there were conditions, percentages. She said we had only a 50% chance to be together in the future. She said she needed space. The confusion intensified, curdling into a nauseating mix of hope and despair. What did 50% mean? How much space? It was like she was negotiating the terms of my heartbreak, offering me scraps of a future that she held all the power to grant or deny. I felt like a puppet, my emotions being pulled and manipulated by her every whim. We finished the relocation that same day, the final carload. Her father and I loaded the last of her boxes. We didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. After lunch, a tense, silent meal of leftovers eaten while standing in the kitchen, she left. She hugged me at the door. It was a quick, awkward embrace. And then she was gone. The click of the lock behind her was the loudest sound I had ever heard. I was alone. A storm of anger finally broke through the fog of confusion and grief. I was angry at her, at myself, at the universe. I wanted to leave her forever. I wanted to burn every memory, erase every trace of her from my life. I paced the empty apartment, fueled by a righteous rage. This was it. It was over. I would be strong. I would move on. I would never let her hurt me again. And then that night my phone buzzed, a text from her. I will love you forever. You will always be the love of my life. The whiplash again, the emotional seesaw. My anger dissolved, replaced by that familiar, treacherous ache of love. Why would she say that if she didn't mean it? Why would she keep doing this to me? My resolve crumbled. The artichoke heart, the soft, vulnerable core of my being, was exposed again. The next day was supposed to be the day she came back to help me clean. Her family, in their haste, had left a mess. Dust, debris, forgotten items. It was a physical manifestation of the emotional chaos she had left behind. She was supposed to come after work. I called her in the morning just to be sure. My voice was shaky, my pride in tatters, but I needed to know. She agreed. She said she would be there. And then she twisted the knife one more time. She said again that we have all the chance to be together one day because she loves me. That tiny 50% chance she had mentioned was now all the chance. The seed of hope, which I had tried so hard to crush, began to sprout again defiantly. So I waited. I sat in the clean half of the apartment waiting for her to arrive, waiting for us to tackle this mess together, a small, symbolic act of putting things right. The hours ticked by. 5 p.m. became 6 p.m. 6 p.m. became 7 p.m. She never came. I called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. I called again, voicemail, and again, voicemail. The silence on the other end of the line was her final, loudest answer. She wasn't coming. She was never coming. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. I had been played. The promises, the I love yous, the talk of the future. It was all a game to her. A way to ease her own guilt, to keep me on the hook until she was safely away. I spent the rest of the night cleaning alone. I scrubbed the floors where we had danced. I wiped down the counters where we had cooked. I packed away the ghosts of our life together. Every swipe of the sponge, every spray of cleaner was an act of rage, of sorrow, of finality. I was cleaning her out of my life, one dusty surface at a time. The apartment was spotless, but my soul was a wreck. 2 days later today, she finally delivered the coup de grace. I don't know why I even answered the phone. Maybe some part of me still expected an apology, an explanation, but there was none. Her voice was flat, devoid of any emotion. She told me that she doesn't want to see me again. She told me that she doesn't love me anymore. She told me that we won't ever be again together and that I had to go away, to leave her alone, just like that. The switch was flipped. The love she had professed just days ago was gone, vanished as if it had never existed. Of course, with all the bullshit she had told me during the week, with the constant back and forth, the emotional manipulation, the promises whispered in the dark, my stupid, artichoke heart had started to believe again. I am a fool, an utter and complete fool. I had actually started to formulate a plan in my head, a pathway to forgiveness. I love her. That's the sick, twisted truth of it. Even after everything, a part of me still loves the woman I thought she was. And because she kept saying she loved me, because she kept dangling that fragile thread of hope in front of me, I grabbed onto it. I thought maybe love is enough. Maybe our love is strong enough to overcome even this monumental betrayal. So when she finally cut that thread today, when she told me she didn't love me anymore, my heart, which had just started to piece itself back together with the cheap glue of her lies, got broken all over again. It was a fresh wave of agony, a second death. And here I am, sitting in this clean, empty apartment that feels more like a tomb. All my paradise, the entire future I had so meticulously and lovingly built with my own 2 hands for the last 6 years, has been destroyed, utterly annihilated in the span of 1 week. It's been turned back to dust, and there's nothing left to clutch onto. The plans, the dreams, the shared history, it's all gone, turned into painful memories that haunt me at every turn. The silence in this apartment is deafening. For 6 years, it was filled with her laughter, her music, the sound of her just being there. Now, it's a vacuum that sucks all the air from my lungs. Every empty space is a reminder of what I've lost. The other half of the bed is a cold, vast expanse. The closet is a hollow cavern. The hook by the door where she used to hang her keys is just a screw in the wall. I see her everywhere and nowhere at all. And the universe, it seems, has a cruel sense of humor, a penchant for kicking a man when he's already down. I have a huge operation in 2 weeks. It's not a minor procedure. It's something that's been planned for the last 4 months, a surgery I've been mentally preparing for, knowing she would be by my side. She was supposed to be the one to drive me to the hospital, to hold my hand before they wheeled me in, to be there when I woke up. Now I have nobody. Nobody to help me get to the hospital that day. Nobody to help me get home. Nobody to check on me, to bring me a glass of water, to just be there while I'm vulnerable and recovering. The thought of going through it alone is terrifying. My body has been in a constant state of alarm since the beginning of this shitty week. I'm living in a perpetual state of fear. Not a fear of anything specific, but a deep, primal fear that has settled in my bones. It's the fear of the unknown, the fear of this gaping void that used to be my life. I can't even sleep at night. I'll manage to drift off for an hour or two out of sheer exhaustion, but then I'll jolt awake, my heart pounding in my chest, unable to breathe. It feels like a panic attack, a crushing weight on my chest, the fear so palpable it's suffocating me. During the day, it's no better. My hands shake all the time. I can't hold a cup of coffee without it rattling against the saucer. I can't sign my own name without the pen jittering across the page. It's like my nervous system is completely shot, a casualty of the emotional war I've just endured. And the loneliness is a physical presence. It's a cold, heavy blanket that smothers me day and night. I don't have a single friend in this region. Not one. In the last 6 years, I poured everything I had into our relationship. I was so consumed by her, by us, that I let my friendships wither. My life was her. My social life was our social life. I neglected my friends, thinking I didn't need them because I had her. I put all my eggs in one basket, and now that basket has been smashed to pieces, and I am completely, utterly alone. As if all of this wasn't enough, the hits just keep on coming. Yesterday, I got a call. It was about one of my best friends, one of the ones I had neglected. I learned that he had a huge health problem a few months ago, something serious. He's been sick, really sick, and I had no idea. The call was to let me know that he's not doing well, that he could die at any time. The guilt is a fresh layer of hell on top of everything else. I wasn't there for him. I was so wrapped up in my perfect little world that I failed as a friend when he needed me most. The same day, just a few hours later, I got another call. It was my father. My grandma is in the hospital. She fell. They're not sure how serious it is yet, but she's old, she's frail. And I can't even go to her. I'm a wreck. I'm in no state to support anyone. I am the one who needs supporting, but there's no one here. I truly believe that these last few days will be the worst days of my whole life. I don't know how a person is supposed to endure this much loss, this much pain all at once. It feels insurmountable. The love of my life is gone, my future is gone, my home is gone, my health is a question mark, my best friend is dying, and my grandmother is in the hospital. It's a cascade of tragedies, a perfect storm of misery. I keep replaying the last week in my head, trying to make sense of it, trying to find the point where it all went wrong, but it's a dizzying loop of pain and confusion. 6 years. 6 years of love and devotion and hard work, all leading to this. To dust. To nothing. I built a paradise with my own 2 hands, and in 1 week I watched it burn to the ground. And now I'm left to stand in the ashes alone with nothing to clutch onto. Just the shaking in my hands and the fear that won't let me breathe. I don't know who I am without her. I don't know how to exist in a world where she doesn't love me. I don't know where to go from here. I'm sitting on the floor because most of the furniture is gone. The echo in the room amplifies the silence. I keep expecting to hear her key in the lock, to hear her call my name, but there's nothing. There will never be anything again. I trace the patterns on the hardwood floor with my finger, the same floor where we danced on New Year's Eve, the same floor where we lay and watched movies on a laptop, the same floor where she told me she was pregnant. Every inch of this apartment is a memorial to a life that no longer exists. I've tried to piece together the timeline to make it logical. 6 months. For 6 months, 1/10 of our entire relationship, she was living a lie. That means for 180 days she woke up next to me, kissed me goodbye, sent me loving texts, and then at some point during her day she was with him. How does a person do that? How do you compartmentalize your heart, your body, your life so completely? I think back over the last 6 months, searching for signs, for clues I might have missed. Were there moments she seemed distant? Times she was on her phone and quickly put it away? Shifts in her schedule that seemed odd? Maybe. But I explained it all away. She was stressed from work. She was tired. She needed some space. I am a supportive partner, I told myself. I trusted her. That's what you do when you love someone, when you're building a life with them. You give them the benefit of the doubt. You trust them implicitly. My trust was my biggest vulnerability. It was the weapon she used against me. I remember all the times she complained about him, this trash guy. She would come home from work, frustrated, telling me how he would say inappropriate things, how he would stare at her, how he made her uncomfortable. I was the protective boyfriend. I was furious. I told her to go to HR to report him. I told her I would come down there and have a word with him myself if she wanted me to. She always said no, that it would just make things worse, that she could handle it. Handle it. Was the entire harassment story a lie, a cover? Or was it real, and did she somehow, in some twisted way, fall for her harasser? Which scenario is worse? I can't decide. Both possibilities make my stomach turn. I think about all the intimate moments we shared during that time. The conversations about our future, the times we made love, the secrets we whispered in the dark. Were any of them real? When she was in my arms, was she thinking of him? When she told me she loved me, were those words just an echo, a habit? The thought is a poison, seeping into every good memory, corrupting everything. The pregnancy, that's the part that I can't wrap my head around. She knew. She knew when she missed her period, when we bought the test, that there was another possibility. She let me experience that pure, unadulterated joy. She let me cry happy tears. She let me hold her and talk about our baby. She participated in naming a child that she knew could be another man's. That is a level of cruelty I didn't know was humanly possible. To allow me to have that hope, that perfect, beautiful dream, only to snatch it away and replace it with the most painful truth imaginable. It's sadistic. And yet through it all she claimed to love me. That's the part that is driving me insane. The constant, contradictory declarations of love. I love you, but I cheated for 6 months. I love you, but this baby might not be yours. I love you, but I'm leaving. I love you forever, but I don't love you anymore. It's psychological torture. It's designed, whether consciously or not, to keep me off balance, to keep me hoping, to make me question my own reality. Did she even know what she wanted? Or was she just saying whatever she thought would make the situation easier for her in that particular moment? I think it's the latter. Her words were not reflections of her heart. They were tools. They were weapons to manage me, to control my reactions, to keep me docile while she orchestrated her escape. The octopus comment. That one keeps replaying in my mind. You're an octopus grabbing my leg. It's so vivid, so dismissive. After everything I did, after I put my own devastation on hold to care for her during her abortion, to be seen as a clinging parasite, it's a betrayal of my very nature. My love, my support, my care. The things I thought were my greatest strengths as a partner were twisted and thrown back in my face as a weakness, a burden. She needed me to be the bad guy. She needed to reframe the narrative in her own head so that she wasn't the villain. She was the victim, escaping my suffocating grasp. And I, the man who gave her everything, became the octopus. The sheer logistics of her deception are mind-boggling. The new apartment, that wasn't found in a day. Her parents didn't just show up on a whim. This was a planned extraction. While she was crying in my arms, telling me she would wait for me forever, she was simultaneously arranging her new life without me. The lease must have been signed. The arrangements with her parents must have been made. All while I was being fed a fantasy of a possible reconciliation. The level of premeditation is chilling. I wasn't just betrayed, I was managed. I was a problem to be handled until the exit strategy was complete, and I was so blind. I wanted to believe the words, not the actions. The action was her parents at the door with boxes. The action was the new apartment. The action was her leaving. The words were just smoke, a diversion to keep me from seeing the truth until it was too late. My friends, the ones I pushed away, I've tried calling a couple of them. The conversations are awkward. It's been too long. Hey man, it's been a while. How are you? How am I? I'm in hell, but you can't say that, so I say I'm okay. Hey, I'm going through a bit of a tough time. But there's no foundation to build on. The shared experiences are years old. The intimacy has faded. They offer condolences. They say, I'm sorry to hear that. But it's the perfunctory sympathy of an acquaintance, not the deep, comforting support of a true friend. And it's my fault. I let those connections die because I thought my relationship was all I needed. I made her my world, and now that world is gone and I'm an alien in the real one. The news about my friend, it puts things in a strange perspective. My pain feels so immense, so all-consuming, but here is someone I care about facing his own mortality. And I wasn't there. I should have been a better friend. The guilt is a sharp, bitter pill to swallow. I want to be there for him now, but how can I? I'm a ghost. I'm a hollow shell of a man. What comfort can I offer when I am so broken myself? And my grandma, I picture her in a hospital bed, confused and scared. I should be there holding her hand, telling her she's strong. But I'm stuck here hundreds of miles away, paralyzed by my own grief. I feel like a failure on all fronts. A failed fiancé, a failed friend, a failed grandson. Everything I defined myself by has been stripped away. Who am I now? I am a 29-year-old man who lives in an empty apartment, who can't sleep, whose hands shake, who is facing major surgery alone. I am a cautionary tale. I am the man who loved too much, who trusted too blindly, who built his house on the sand. And now the tide has come in and it has all been washed away. There is nothing left, just the echo of a life that was and the terrifying, deafening silence of what is. The worst week of my life. It's an understatement. This week wasn't just bad. This week was the end of a world, my world, and I don't know how to build a new one. I don't even know if I want to. Thank you for listening this story. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. Click like and subscribe to the Reddit Whispers for more.